Poka-Yoke, how Japan prevents mistakes before they happen. In this video, I'm going to share with you some exciting things that I saw firsthand and that I now understand that are quite phenomenal. And I am in love with this concept. And so if you're interested in that and how it ties to construction, then stay with us on this video. Okay, Poka-Yoke, or error proofing. This concept is game changing. Let me just go right into the story because I think you're going to love it. And it was more of a high mix, low volume production facility with production pods that worked off of the Kanban method. And we were at some pods, and it's so interesting. U-shaped pods. A lot of these pods were actually complete 360 circles where you open up a latch, which is a part of the actual machine, and then close it back in, and it surrounds a human being, and they just literally work in a circle. It's really quite fun. But there was this one part where, and I don't know the details because it was being said to me in Japanese, but there's basically like a stamped sheet metal part, and then there's another piece that goes on top of it, and there's a machine that comes down and spot welds it, and there's two spot welds, and it's very, very frictionless, and it's quite phenomenal. Oh, this is really cool. Toyota, with their vendors, if the vendor gives them a defect, not as punishment, but as a part of working with them, if that part provides a defect, then Toyota requires 100% inspection of that part for the next 3 months. And so vendors, it's not a punishment, but vendors don't want to do it. Toyota requires the highest level of quality in all of their parts. And if there's a defect found, that manager, that lead, that production pod has got to inspect it for 3 months. That's an incredible, you would call that waste, but the waste of passing down a defect is even more. And so they reduce their reliance on inspection like W. Edwards Deming taught them, but if they have that, then they go into this corrective action phase, which trains people shoulder to shoulder. But anyway, there's this part that's crucial to the overall Toyota process. By the way, this manufacturing plant was a vendor that supplied to Toyota, and the leader showed he spot welded too, and he then put it in this receiving machine, and the part went into their inventory, and then the water spiders, which then move inventory and bring parts, then would grab that little case with the Kanban card. I'll talk about Kanban later, but basically that card then moves to the other processes based on need. Then the leader went and did just one spot weld but didn't do the second one, and then tried to put it through the machine, and the machine stopped. The little receiver that puts it into the inventory container stopped, and he's like, they won't accept it. There is a sensor that senses the two spot welds, and it only sensed one. And then he brought it back and did the second spot weld and put it in, and went right through. Poka-Yoke, error proofing. What this does is it makes sure that as a part of the process that mistakes or errors aren't pushed down the line. And it's really quite phenomenal. And I saw it everywhere. And one of the things that was really, really neat is that Mr. Amazawa, who had worked for Lexus and Toyota, he was talking about a story where Taiichi Ono, oh, this is so funny, who was one of the best known figures and teachers and senseis for the Toyota production system, which these people that we went to Japan with had learned under Taiichi Ono. That's a little name dropping there, but they used to call him "Oh no" in English, like, oh no, he's coming. He wasn't mean or rude, but he could always see through the BS. So they would say, oh no, like Taiichi Ono, get it? Nothing? Okay, anyway. So Taiichi Ono would come to the area, and they were showing him a process where they were able to cut the little corner off piece of sheet metal before it went on the car, and how lean they had made it. And Taiichi Ono said, well, how can we keep that little corner piece that needs to be cut off from happening even in the first place upstream? And they were like, oh my gosh, I'm blown away. So the Japanese are always asking the questions for improvement. How can you do this without money, without motors, and how can you do it upstream in the line to where that defect is never produced even in the first place? And how can you do it without relying on inspection? And it's really cool. So us in construction, like, it's actually pretty neat. Like, I'm thinking about like visual boards and some of the things that we do in our company at LeanTech. Like, what if the housing for where we place something is right sized, and the size of something is what we want to quality control, and when we place it over here, that's the automatic Poka-Yoke. You can't fit it into the frame unless it's automatically right. Or let's say that we're in construction, What if something could not be bolted or screwed together or assembled unless it fit perfectly inside the jig the first time, and there's no way it could be out of skew? Or in manufacturing, if you produce the part, it's not going to go through to the next step unless the sensors see that it's right. Or like you see on the How It's Made videos, you have like the tomatoes coming down or whatever, and one of the AI sensors senses there's a bug or it's too pale or it's not ripe, and a little thing bumps it out of the line. There's many different ways to do it, but Poka-Yoke is error proofing at the source, quality at the source. Another thing, a close principle, is Jidoka, which is automation with a human touch. It's very similar, not the exact same thing, but the example there, and I'll talk about this in another video, in their looms, where Sakichi Toyoda, that he invented, he would have a little metal pin on each of the lines as it fed into the loom, and if one of the strands broke, which is detrimental to the garment or the weave, if one of them broke, that metal piece would fall down and stop a mechanism that would stop the machine. That is Poka-Yoke, but that is actually automation with a human touch, and it's more of the Jidoka, see a problem, stop the line principle, and Poka-Yoke is more of the quality is built into the system to where you don't have to stop the line, but they're very tied together. And so those are some examples. And so the question is, if we have quality problems, how do we implement Poka-Yoke where literally, as a part of the process, naturally, defects are not moved down the line. And in some cases, like I said, it is identified and you're able to stop the line or stop the production and get it right from the start. And it's going to take some creativity there. Even Paul Akers, I'll tell you a little fun thing. Paul Akers was showing us on the bus a new lean improvement that they just did at FastCap. And Mr. Amazawa said, now do it without more money. And then another video came, now do it without motors. And Paul Akers did this. He was like, he kind of giggled like, well, what do you want? You know, what, like he got a little bit frustrated because Mr. Amazawa was doing the Ono thing and continuing to ask him. And then the third video that Paul's company sent him back as a part of the tour for this, then Mr. Amazawa said, how can you prevent that defect that you're fixing in this lean improvement from ever happening from the beginning? And Paul, he's like, I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still blown away. The pursuit of perfection is real. So Poka-Yoke, absolutely beautiful concept. And I hope that you can think of ways to go implement this in your project site and in any of your work in your departments and in your business. Here's the question. Think about it like this. What's one thing that you could do that will maintain quality at the source as a part of the process, error-proof it, that you can implement tomorrow? If you do that, we'll be on our way. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.